My father was not a very warm and caring father when my siblings and I, all in our 20s now, were young. I'm the youngest, and I was only 8 when we all found out he was having an affair with a woman he worked with. The affair only came out because the affair partner grew tired of our father staying married to Mom and showed no signs of being willing to divorce Mom for her. So she took measures into her own hands and confronted Mom with the truth. My siblings and I were all at home at the time. It blindsided my mom significantly because, while she knew our father worked a lot, he'd always been attentive as a spouse to her, and he could play pretend that he was invested in his kids. My mom's marriage to him fell apart, and she moved out of his house with us, and we started anew. My father fought for shared custody. I often wonder if this was to punish her or us, because it's not like he had any role in our lives, but he was awarded shared custody. His affair partner threw herself into the role of stepmom. She acted like she was some new person with no bad history with us or our family. She even ignored that she destroyed our mom's heart right before us. We did not like her, and within 2 years she told our father she no longer wanted us around because all we did was bully her and make her feel like she was some unimportant mistake he made. She was also bothered by the fact that none of us would acknowledge her as our father's wife or as our stepmom. We always said she was our father's affair partner when asked. This wasn't something she wanted following her around or thrown in her face a lot. So, we had no contact with our father for over a decade. I'm 22 now. Recently, the affair partner contacted us to inform us that our father had suffered several health complications and is now ill and disabled. My oldest brother confirmed this is true and knows which hospital he's in. None of us had any interest in seeing him, and we expressed this, though not to her, to our father's sister. His affair partner decided my siblings would never give in, but she knew a much younger me had hoped for a better relationship with my dad, and she tried to say she couldn't care for him and the 4 young children they have under the age of 7, and that my family needs me. I told her that they were not my family and that she married him, so she was responsible for caring for him now that he couldn't care for himself, and I told her I wouldn't help and didn't care how tough it was for them. Her response was full of anger, but she, in not so many words, called me an idiot. I ignored her, but she again insulted me and claimed that I was sick and cruel for my stance. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your dad chose to be crappy to your family and his affair partner chose to marry him. She didn't want his kids around and he obliged. She wanted him, and now that things are hard, she wants his kids back in his life. There's that whole in sickness and in health marriage thing she seems to have forgotten about. This is karma in action. She's reaping what she sowed. She destroyed your mother and your family. You owe her nothing. I'm not too fond of the idea of karma, but she was the one who told the kids she was the affair partner. Of course, that's all the kids would think of her after she made that impression. This was a direct consequence of her actions, and she doesn't even think she did anything wrong. Who would have guessed nobody would have sympathy for her? Oh, she still doesn't want his kids around. She wants the heavy lifting and grunt work they will provide so she can continue to enjoy her life. Keep away from her. Do not let her convince you to support her kids because they are your younger siblings and family helps family. Exactly. OP, she wants something from you, whether money or someone to care for her husband and or kids. She's considering raising kids on a single income with finances in a bleak state since medical issues are so expensive. If it were, I want to give his other kids a chance to reconnect, she wouldn't be raving at you, she'd just let it go. But she wants something from you that you have no obligation to give. Given how they both treated you, you're free to block any contact from her if that helps. She wanted him all to herself, and now she has him, all to herself. A 36 male have a niece, 19, who's obsessed with a celebrity gossip group. She says she reads it and participates in it a good 2 hours a day, and she brings it up constantly to me. I can't mention a song or show or movie etc. I like without her mentioning stuff she read about the celebrity in question. And it comes down to the stupidest stuff, like deciding she hates somebody because of their vibe or because they made a dumb tweet when she was a toddler. Even if they apologized, if she really hates an actor, she'll swear up and down that their movie will flop, as if everybody on the planet read the same 100% confirmed true comment from 2 years ago about the actor being an entitled diva on set. A few hours ago when she was visiting, I unfortunately forgot she could get like this and she saw I had a movie laying out. She said, "No offense, but how can you enjoy this movie?" She explained the actress had some drama with a One Direction singer a few years ago and that it was a huge surprise she still had fans. I honestly forgot what happened there because it was so stupid. I said something to the effect of, literally nobody in real life cares about this stuff as much as you do. Call people out if they support or defend horrible people, but you need to stop obsessing over low-level drama. She argued that I was being rude and enabling toxic celebrities, and I told her to leave because I wasn't in the mood to argue with her over a freaking movie. She left and texted me that she would be blocking my number because I apparently made her feel too embarrassed to talk about her hobbies anymore, and that it took her so much to get here, from Hoboken, and I ruined the city for her. My sister, aka her mom, told me I was out of line and not to have Thanksgiving with them. Am I the idiot for how I handled this? Not the idiot. Sometimes people get fanatical about their little obsessions, and they must be told that not everyone is as enthusiastic about it as you. Instead of acknowledging it, she decides the problem is you for causing her this embarrassment. The rising generation, sadly, is disproportionately narcissistic. They never in their lives heard the word no, and they've never had their behaviours checked. And given her mother's reaction, it's not hard to see where your niece gets it from. It's unfortunate because it will likely be a very long time and require a great deal of ostracization before your niece even considers the problem is her. That is exhausting. I'd be bringing up crap she did at 4 years old and telling her she needs to be cancelled. You once pushed over another toddler, and that toddler was black. You should therefore go and live under a bridge like the monster you clearly are. You once didn't finish your juice, and that juice company supports world peace. Are you against world peace? Problematic. Not to mention the juice box wasn't biodegradable, so you hate world peace, kill the environment, and don't get me started on the food waste. This is hilarious. OP, please do it. This kid sounds insufferable. She's a gossip. Dishing dirt on other people is not a hobby. Oh god, she's 19. I think your sister is the idiot for uninviting you from dinner, probably to appease the young lady. She needs to get a life of her own and stop obsessing about strangers and celebrities. 2 days ago, my 21 female boyfriend, 23, had his friends over. I knew they were coming since he told me the night before. It was really warm, surprisingly, and all I was wearing was a sports bra, sort of low cut and kinda tight shorts. I sat on the couch next to my boyfriend for a little while as they played some games on the TV, and then I went to get some lunch. By the time I finished eating, they'd left and my boyfriend blew up at me. He said I was dressed like that for attention, and I made all his friends stare at me. I knew what I was doing and should have covered up as soon as I saw them. He stormed out, and he's barely spoken to me since he came home. Am I the idiot? Should I have worn something less revealing? Everyone's the idiot here. Your man for not speaking his concerns instead of yelling. But girl, you knew the day before they were coming. Let's be honest, if your friend came over half naked and he was looking, you would be angry. I understand if you would work out, it made sense for you to wear that. Was it hard to throw a shirt on top before the friends arrived and he could have just taken it right back off before they left? I'm not saying you have to dress that way for them, but as I stated earlier, if the situation was reversed, I'm sure you would be angry. I would have stayed in the other room until they were done hanging out. She was wearing a sports bra and what sounds like bike shorts, in what I'm presuming is her own home. This outfit is ridiculously comfortable, and being on the way to a workout is not a requirement for wearing it. If her boyfriend's friends can't control themselves from gawking at a girl in a sports bra and bike shorts, that's their fault, not hers. Maybe they weren't gawking. Maybe they were uncomfortable. It isn't just about OP's comfort in her home, but the guest comfort as well, especially since she knew the company was coming. If roles were reversed and he was wearing just basketball shorts while she had guests over, people might not be taking the same side as wear what you want in your home. Yeah, wearing appropriate clothing is important for the place. I couldn't imagine wearing a bra if my husband's friends came over. If someone was wearing a one-piece bathing suit at Target, that would be pretty weird too. I dress like an intoxicated floozy most of the time at home, but things change when there's a guest. It's wild. While I do agree in this situation, OP is most likely not the idiot. People here almost always default to complete independent autonomy in situations when that isn't an entirely appropriate approach. The real issue in this situation is that the boyfriend is still too hot under the collar to discuss this. It's an opportunity to figure out what each other's boundaries and ideas about what is and isn't appropriate behaviour are. You may find out that you just aren't as compatible as you thought, and that's fine too. OP, it sounds like you guys have different feelings about modesty. You guys should have a very honest discussion about how you both feel. I, 21 female, am a university student in the US. My inner circle of friends has decided we want to take a trip for our spring break as it's our last year of university, and we'll all be moving away from each other come May. A part of my family is Greek, and my uncle owns a small hotel near Athens. Only 3 stories, very small rooms, and a more budget-friendly style of travelling. Anyone who's been to smaller hotels throughout parts of Europe would know what I'm talking about, but I don't know the immediate English translation for it. So I spoke with my uncle, who graciously invited my friends and me to come to Athens and stay for the week without the expense of staying, just having to pay for our flights and activities. Initially this was just me and 3 other girls who I invited, and we were all very excited and already booked tickets for the summertime. But in the past 3 months we have become friends with 2 other girls who have slowly joined our group, and I extended the invite to them, one being Harper, 22 female. At first, Harper was excited to come and liked the thought of not paying for the hotel, but when I showed her pictures of my uncle's hotel, she became very passive-aggressive with me. In these hotels, the only way to get to rooms is basically lots and lots of stairs. Even the hotel's location is very hilly, so lots of walking is required. The elevator is the classic European elevator where one standard-sized person will fit, but they're mainly used for just luggage. Harper is plus size and has chronic pains, so she said she couldn't take the stairs since she couldn't fit in the elevator. I found out from my other friend later that Harper was talking behind my back, calling me names, and saying I'm only inviting her to let her be humiliated and how inconsiderate I am for planning a trip with poor accommodations. Immediately, I called her to ask why she'd said this about me, and she blamed my uncle's business because the hotel not being accessible is a form of fat phobia and ableism. I explained that many of these hotels are very old architecture and standard in European travel, especially in Greece. Then she said I shouldn't defend such a disgusting culture if that is the standard. I honestly do not know how to proceed, and I think maybe there is a cultural misunderstanding. Some of my friends are saying to just apologise but disinvite her altogether if she's taking such an issue with it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your friend is being ridiculous. Your uncle made a very kind offer to you and your friends, including Harper. The hotel doesn't meet her needs and she declined, but trying to assign evil motives to you is ridiculous. Some places in Europe are hundreds of years old, built long before the idea of accessibility came along. Yes, it seems like she'd want an old and historical building knocked down and rebuilt because some people can't go in it. She'd not be able to get up staircases in castles either. Would she say they were ableists too? OP, I just returned from a trip, the elevator was out and I had to go up to the 5th floor. The narrowest staircase. It's just the norm out there. You should uninvite her. She'll be a pain to deal with during the entire trip. Jesus Christ, you are not the idiot. I'm from Europe and these old buildings were built years ago. One summer I stayed in Sorrento, Italy, and the lift was a death trap. You walked up the stairs. Unless your friend expects the entire nation of Greece to redesign their architecture for her especially, she'll need to walk upstairs or understand the world is not America. If she doesn't want to, she doesn't have to go. This isn't a mandatory vacation. Also, tell her that her ethnocentrism is showing. Your family isn't fat-phobic or ableist, but she's narrow-minded and judgmental. My cousin and I are both seniors in high school and live in different states. My family went to her state for a wedding, which is when this whole thing blew up. At the wedding, her parents bragged to everyone that she was in the top 10 of her class. This didn't bother me until they started asking the cousins who were high school age and what their rank was. I was very annoyed because I'm in the middle of my class, but I go to one of the top high schools in my state. It's so good that it's well known that the top 10 usually go to Ivy League schools. Anyway, I tried to ignore them, but eventually her father came to our table to talk to my parents. Of course, he brought up her top 10 standings, then turned to me and asked mine. I answered I didn't know, which made him laugh, and he told me that he bet he wasn't the top 25% or else I'd know. I was about to say something, but my mum pinched my thigh hard to where I had to look at her. The entire thing put me in a bad mood for the rest of the night. When we got back to our hotel, I spent the night looking up her high school and found many articles about how bad her school district is. I found an article that stated fewer than 10 students in her entire school were proficient at math. I laughed hard, saved those articles, and then went back to sleep. The next day at family dinner, almost everyone was there when her parents started up with it again. I pulled up some sample SAT math questions and challenged her to complete them. The short of it is she didn't get any right. Her parents yelled at my parents yelled at me, and the dinner was ruined. She later texted in our cousin's group chat that I was an idiot for putting her on the spot, and I replied that it's easy being in the top 10 when everyone else is an idiot. We're home now and my parents want me to smooth things over by apologising to the rest of the family and, specifically, to my cousin for putting her on the spot. I don't want to, but Dad told me that Grandpa will ban us from the Christmas gathering unless I do. I don't want to. Everyone's the idiot here except your cousin. It was her parents bragging, not her. Her parents suck for bringing you into it, and they could have just been proud of their daughter without comparing her to anyone. Your parents suck for not defending you and for wanting you to take insults quietly. You suck for embarrassing your cousin for what her parents did. You suck the least out of the three since you were only defending yourself, but how you did it wasn't good. You could have just compared the schools instead. You could have given the bragging parents the sample maths questions. Will the uncle be made to apologise too, because from what I read here, he, a grown damn adult, bullied every kid he came into contact with about their math performances. OP, on the other hand, is a teenager who stood up for themselves. Maybe the uncle shouldn't dish it out in the first place. Honestly, every single adult involved owes every cousin subjected to this an apology for not stepping in. If one of my family members started doing this, I would burn every single bridge to put it to a stop and defend the kids. OP, here's an example of the apology you could give. I'm sorry your parents were wrongly bragging about your supposed mathematical ability, and that simply bringing an example question out has caused you and your parents such mortifying embarrassment. I hope we can all learn from this to enjoy our successes rather than turn it into a competition. I like people being humbled and adore a bit of pettiness, so you are not the idiot.